Today is a board of directors meetings for the Utah State Parks and Recreation. We're holding this meeting at the Grand Center in Moab, Utah. We're at 182 North 500 West. And today is November 10th, 2022, when we welcome everybody's attendance. We're pleased to be joined today. Yesterday we had a little field trip and looked at a few things. We appreciate Megan hosting us here in the region and look at some things, and appreciate some time at Green River and then the new Utah Raptor State Park and then that beautiful sunset at Dead Horse, and nice times and good dinner. Here in person, we have Brett Boswell hanging out over there on the left, and Lisa Mears, our director, Jeff Rasmussen, and then Devin, sorry. I got distracted looking at the trees, sorry. Claudia's on my immediate left, and then we have Melanie taking care of business for us, and Alicia Colthrop, our deputy vice chair. Appreciate you being here and always the support. Natalie Randall, our regional director, Megan, and then online, I guess we have Scott Strong is with us, our deputy director, and I understand Dave is ill, so he won't be with us. And we have our other regional directors, Wayne Monroe and Lori Bacchus, with us, and looks like our legal counsel, Shane Stroud, is there to make sure that we're staying on the straight and narrow. Is that correct, Shane? See, we're already in trouble.
You're doing great so far.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. And Joe, thank you.
Sorry.
No problem. And so anyway, I don't know that we have any other instruction at this point. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda that's been presented?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to approve of the agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion from Claudia to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Either one. I'll second that.
Okay, we got a second from Alicia. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And we don't have any board members online, so we don't have to do like the virtual pause. So that's kind of nice. The next thing is to review and approve our August 18th meeting minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those? Are there any comments or discussions on those, Claudia?
I'll send one to Melanie. Yes. With that, I can move that we approve the August 18th, 2022.
Thank you. I have a motion from Claudia to approve those minutes from August 18th, 2022. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second from Brent. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Next we have board reports. Brent, can we start with you? I know that you have just a lot to report on, and I've been inviting for this for a long time.
You guys are turning into a state park junkie.
He was even waiting at the last board meeting because he knew that he had stuff coming up that he was going to do. So
Yeah, so a lot of my state park visits were right after the last board meeting, so they're starting to get fuzzy in my memory. But we did a motorcycle trip, and we passed a couple of state parks, and the friend I was with is not a junkie yet, so he was like, "Really, we have to stop at another?" Because I'm just talking to people, and he's getting bored in the sun. But we did Sand or Four Peak, and we did Kodachrome. But the one that was the funnest was I took my boys to Johnson Valley, and they had a blast. I mean, that was so cool. And thankfully, we stayed in Richfield the night before, and I was just going to kind of mosey down there, stop along the way, and it was fall break. And so right before bed, I noticed on Facebook that one of the state park folks at Goblin said, "We hate to post things that might scare you away, but just know that this is our busiest weekend, and that if you come anytime between 10 and like 4, you're going to wait in line for 1 to 2 hours to get in." And man, I was like, "Oh, that's not." My boys just don't confine in a car. So we got up early, we busted it straight out there. I think we were about the second people on the ground, parked right next to the bathroom, right? And we went and had an absolute blast. By the time we were ready for lunch, it was kind of early. We got plenty of room, picnic table. And when we went to leave, it was like evacuation in New York City in one of those like natural disaster movies. People everywhere, kids crying. And so we stopped there once in a while and they said, it's worth it, it's worth the wait. But they were realizing that, so we don't go in, if you leave, one of us goes in, because it's a matter of parking, right? But it was still cool, and I'm just appreciative that they did post that, even though they were hesitant to. It didn't seem to affect their crowds for the day. But for those of us who were interested in getting there early enough and waiting in the line, it worked out fantastic. You got pictures of my kids jumping in the air. It looks like they're 400 feet up the ground, jumping from boulder to boulder. It was really awesome. I talked to a lot of people from other states that were there. They just couldn't believe it. So, and I'll say too that there were a couple of park employees that were walking down the line of cars, comforting people. And I thought that was really cool because, you know, like, and there was a few that were, you could see them pulling out and leaving, but most just got their camp chairs and there was people suntanning on the roof of their van. And, but it was awesome to see that level of excitement. But I thought it was really cool that some of the employees were walking down the line, checking on people and telling them that it was okay. And the very last people, I go, dude, it's worth it. But as I was driving by, I'm like, oh, you're 2.5 hours out here. But I'm sure it's still worth it. But anyway, always great employees, really awesome. But I think I probably hit 5 state parks since we met last, and it was cool.
We can go back to Wild Horse Canyon, just right next to that. It's fucking.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is that a
It's
state
right
park?
on. It's just like.
I didn't, so I'm sometimes I miss it, I guess, but yeah, I didn't hit that.
The Wild Horse Canyon is right on the edge of the property that we just acquired. And most people that are driving into that area are either going for Goblin Valley, San Rafael Swell, or Little Wild Horse Canyon, which is a part of the San Rafael Swell, but it's an amazing little hike. Kids love it. Slot canyon that's super narrow and it's really cool.
Yeah, cool. We'll do that next time.
Well, thank you, Brent. Joan?
It was kind of an odd quarter for me, so I didn't get to see a lot. But I mean, thanks to everyone that came to our van tour last week. I'm so lost, but it was good. But what was good for me was I'm at Willerbank all the time. But it was good for me to go on a tour like that because I saw things differently, and I wrote down lots of stuff. I'm like, are our sites really in that bad of shape? And you know, I mean, just all of the things. So, so that was good for me. And again, thanks to those who have come. So we've flown by a couple of other ones, but just for if we're going somewhere, I make my husband stop, even if it's just for a few minutes.
I also will say that I did not make it out very much this semester. Well, for me semester, the first semester at the U, so that was pretty busy. I had plans to be with my parents, but they came a week early for our fall parade by accident. Because they got to go to Point Firm State Park, but I didn't get to join them on that adventure. I think that was actually maybe a recommendation for you, Corey, but I sent that there. So that would be my update for the moment.
Pauline?
Well, I had a chance to go to 2 of them finally. I was canceled the first time because of COVID. The second time I had to cancel because I got COVID. And the third time I went, it was like 110 degrees in St. George. So I talked to my friend that was with me to go see Gunlock because I knew they had their little new campground. And their ranger, John Allred, is from Nephi. I went to school with my niece. Oh, you can't imagine how exciting that was to talk about Nephi and people we knew. And he knew my niece Michelle, and oh my gosh.
And you talked and talked and talked.
We got actually we got in his truck and he took us all around the show living campground. But the highlight, interestingly, is their restrooms. And because it was actually so hot, they were air conditioned. So people went to the restrooms for relief. So, Well, it's just
Different
one
kind of
thing.
thing, right?
That was it.
Yeah. So, also went down and drove up to Bay when I came down and went to Snow Canyon. And there was nobody there at the station. I think it was too hot. There wasn't a soul in Snow Canyon. There wasn't a lot. I don't care, because I can understand, I don't agree, it's real hot to do that. But I went back to, Snow Canyon when my son did his marathon, the 1st of October. And I have to say the reservation system is working. You have to know about it. Hopefully, don't advertise it a lot because they only have like 200 slots that they don't let you in. But that actually just helps a whole lot to go up in Snow Canyon and watch the marathoners go down. So that was really, really, really good. My grandson also does mountain biking, and they had a competition in Manti. And there's no place to stay in Sanpete County, and there's a huge something. I don't know what we're gonna do in Sanpete, because if they have fall tournaments or this mountain biking competition that was Region 1, there's no people to stay. But guess what they did? Outside. They stayed in tents, they stayed in the cabins, they brought their trailers, and I had nothing but good parts from parents who could attend it. And so that might be a marketing thing for Palisade, if they ever do competitions against it. And some of the bad news trail they developed there, so I think that's gonna happen a lot. Just one other comment in reading what happened. Grant, I think it was Fremont and then State Park that taught you from your Otter Creek story last time. But I have often been scared to death that I was going to lose my cell phone in a pit toilet. And that report that somebody lost their cell phone and wallet in the pit toilet, and they went in there and dug it. I think that's amazing. That is got to be the ultimate sacrifice of a staff member to go in there and
It's so
take that down. Yeah, that's my.
I'm gonna skip myself. I'm
Oh, one
going.
other thing.
Well, first, what show did you see at 2:00?
I saw Wonderland and
It was good.
so interestingly, the second night when I was going to the marathon, I went with my children, who I was going with Snow Canyon early in the morning to go to sand dunes. But the gal at the check station didn't recognize my card. She goes, I don't know what that is.
That's wrong.
That, at first point, I'd say will be free.
Yeah, I said, what is it? I've never seen it before. I said, honestly, it's legitimate. I've never seen it before. So something maybe in training or whatever that those cards gave us.
We're the only ones that have them, right? It's just the board.
They're using more there.
How long ago that happened?
October, like was October 1st.
Yeah, Deborah.
So we're moving to that size card for all our annual passes starting in January.
And that's what they don't know about them or not sure about them or.
Yeah, we probably need to do a better job getting the word out, but we are moving to that wallet size, credit card size annual pass, so.
Well, I tried to use it.
But then again, right?
She did, but she was skeptical. She said she'd never seen it before.
So I've actually had similar reactions, you know, I've never seen one of those before, but they've always let me in. So.
All right.
They thought, I wonder, they just let you know.
On the website, I see my name.
Yeah.
Well, they-
Check my ID.
That's it.
That was funny. Okay, so I went on a little tour with our Chamber of Commerce. We came down to Southern Indiana, and we went to Gunlock as well. And we went to Fremont Indian State Park. And so both of those were on our trip that was planned. And so that was fun to get
Did you hike around, you see Pedro Woods?
We did, we hiked around, and there's a lot to see, and it was great to be in both of those parks. I've been to both of them before, but fun to go back with different people. Yes.
Good.
Yes, we did.
Cool.
So that was awesome. We hosted Utah Tourism Conference in September, and while we didn't have an activity in Red Fleet State Park, the water is really low. A lot of people mountain bike and hiked next to either into the dinosaur tracks, or they did the Red Fleet trails. Did you go? You were in road. You did, right? Yeah, Jeff were there as well. They're awesome. And even though they're not right in the park, they get to be associated with the park. And that's a total benefit to state parks there. And, yeah, so those three kind of my report. I'll get around a little bit more. Yeah, and we had the van tour and my husband and I got to cook and that was super fun. And it was great to have people from all over the state come and see our 4 parks in our little area, and always nice to get to show off. So
I gotta say, nobody does fried chicken better than Alicia and her husband.
yeah,
It
it was
was
amazing.
awesome.
Thank you.
It's not me, it's him, but I don't know, one time you're so sweet. I'll have to cook for the board next time they come. Because it really, he loves to cook and it was yummy. Do you haven't perfected it yet?
I need to try, I think I need to put side by side with her
Okay.
husband because it didn't turn out quite as good when I did it. But
Okay, next
I'll keep
time
working on
you can have the full.
it was still okay, it just wasn't to the level of Alicia yet.
Okay, or my husband, really, it's him, not me. I
Yeah,
just buy the groceries.
I have an update on the passes, thanks to Devin. He reminded me that all of our park entrance stations have a printout with all the passes that are out there, including that one. So I think we've got all the region managers either here or online, probably a good reminder just to let staff know that they have that information. Because there are a lot of passes out there, and so they have that information. Just FYI.
Hey, I gotta tell you, this is how great Jeff is. I asked him for some passes for the state tourism conference. What is it gonna be? The silent auction. And he and Melanie were really great at, saying, well, they probably don't want passes until the new year. And so they made me cute little gift certificates.
That's all on Melanie.
So thanks, Melanie. That was very.
Yeah, I do that, like, we give away a lot of state parks passes in different events and stuff, and so once it gets to August, I'm like, do you want this for 22? Because this is new, or 23, so I have like a whole list of them that are waiting. It's just playing that, we've gotta like get that in our mind that now they're yearly passes, but I hope that after this year, like, it'll be much easier, don't you think? Yeah.
I think it will.
Yeah, I think it'll all come together, and it's not a bad thing, it's just change, and you just have to.
Transition.
Yep.
So you're for sure gonna have that amendments in February?
Absolutely. We'll have it before that. So.
If you need it before, then contact.
Yeah.
Start off with the fun one. My parents came from back east and we took them to Goosenecks and they hadn't been there
Where they
before.
from?
They're from Virginia, so Falls Church area. So just outside DC, so crazy busy all the time. They question every day why I moved out, one to Utah and then let alone Monticello. So we slowly are introducing them to all of the fun places to go and they come for short periods of time. So this time it was Goosenecks and they loved it. So that was awesome to be able to show that to them. The other pieces are more in line with work-related elements. So there was the Senate Golf Tournament at Wasatch Mountain State Park. And so awesome to be able to see how much the legislators love that state park and all of our state parks, and talk about that with them as we went around. And then had a unique opportunity to also jump on with the Lieutenant Governor and then Legislative Fiscal Analyst and Jeff and Scott, and then all the other state park folks that were involved too. So we were able to go to Goblin Valley, do the Goblin's Lair, Dead Horse. We also were able to go to Canyonlands and Arches, some interesting conversations around, state parks management and national park management, collaboration between the multiple parks in the regions, especially popular areas like down in the southeastern Utah region. And then also had the chance to take them over to Edge of the Cedars, which I think is so important to be able to allow the Lieutenant Governor, Legislative Fiscal Analyst to see some of those other lesser known visited areas, especially our museums too. So.
Thank you.
Can I just say, since you brought up Wasatch State Park, we actually learned yesterday at Green River that they really need some newer parks and not the ones that have been handed from Wasatch to Green River. So can we put in a plug?
Scott's going to talk about that later. We'll hear about, our golf cart plan from Scott.
So we were pretty mad about it yesterday, yes. We were kind of,
I feel bad they get the fourth time hand-me-down.
We've got to take care
Oh, one other piece too, dead horse, interesting element, and I think it was noticed by a lot of people in the group that were visiting, but just the attention to detail on everything. I know it's been surfaced a few different times, but there's some sand at the overlook at Dead Horse. We weren't able to see it this time, it was under snow. But they rake the sand, and I think it's a daily occurrence there.
It's the campground,
It's the
they're
campground.
super passionate about.
And well noticed by one visitor that had noticed it, like the sand's raked right in this area, like a Zen garden kind of feel, but I was noticed as well, the attention to detail throughout all the parks.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Natalie, because I was just so impressed and blown away, and I use that as a model of what I want every state park to look like, because it's the attention to detail that sets our facilities apart from everybody else. And we had comments from the Lieutenant Governor's group on that, and I noticed it right off the bat. I was kind of teasing Aaron that, we couldn't see the right sand last night because the snow was on. It really does make a difference.
Yeah, people notice.
I think that's what's nice about visiting these parks or meetings, because we get to kind of hear what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's been a good thing.
When you visit parks, be sure to spend some time with the managers or staff and just ask them about their needs in that context too. Appreciate that. At breakfast at the hotel, Brett and I were talking with some people, and they just, I don't know what prompted them, but they asked us what we were doing there. And so we had the opportunity to talk with them about being on the board and our passion for the parks and the great people out there. And it's just always a great opportunity to tell people what's happening out there in our great parks, and they get to visit some, and we encourage them to visit more. It's great to be in Moab, and it's interesting to be in a community that has such interesting dynamics. What's the population of Moab?
Maybe 6,000 or 7,000?
6,000 or 7,000, and how many millions of visitors coming here?
Plus, yeah.
Yeah, and so what a challenging community with so many visitors with such a small population base, with utilities and planning and infrastructure and all the challenges that go with it. Just anyway, it's a testament to making things happen and success, ongoing challenges. I know that the Solid Waste Authority had huge challenges during COVID because of fee structure that disappeared, and having all of your revenues based on fee structure, and then when that goes south, anyway, caused huge challenges. That's one thing we'll see in the legislature this session and coming years with attempts or approaches to putting all our fees in different areas on a rate base, and but there's good sides and bad sides to that. It can't be as diversified. It doesn't give you a broad base for stability, but it does focus the fees where the usage lies. So anyway, we're going to see a lot of that. Certainly challenging times in the world, and with the Great Salt Lake, we're seeing a lot of issues, and that's going to be a bigger and bigger thing. And in the water world, we've got a great fall with some snow, and we're seeing a bunch of the ski resorts start up, some of the earliest ever in some cases, and some good fall moisture in the soil as well. But it's going to be challenging times in the Great Salt Lake, looking at issues that go both directions. In the water world, we see the need to use the water and reuse the water and reuse it again, right? To make the water go as far as possible and conserve it. And Scott's dad had a saying that said, when you conserve water, something has to die. And that's strong words, but that's the reality. Is you're conserving, you're taking water away from something to use it for something else. And that could be endangered fish habitat, it could be whatever it is, but so it's a challenging thing in the water world to use the water to reuse it, but yet we're going to be seeing more and more pressure to have that water go to the Great Salt Lake. And so it's just one example. I think that we're going to have more and more challenging times, but I guess I'm optimistic that regardless of the issue, I think in Utah we still have a real can-do attitude to solve problems, and I appreciate this board with the great people that we have and the great staff, and to solve problems. And down our way, that's kind of what they refer to as the Dixie spirit, this pioneer spirit of solving problems. And I think that's alive and well in Utah today, and I think there's still great things ahead of the state of Utah and life before us. Since last board meeting, we had the opportunity, we went camping in Palisade and had a great time. And I was kind of late getting there, didn't have a lot of options for camping sites, and we kind of got stuck in there, and it was hard parking and backing, and based on the way the spot was oriented. We got in there and thought it was going to be a loud and noisy night, but people settled down and it was quiet, and it was just really nice and enjoyable, and we loved it. And I've got a son-in-law who's kind of like this Salt Lake County guy, and he grew up with scouting, but that was about his outdoor experience extent. And we've had him out camping, and he's enjoying it. And we didn't have good success with his fly fishing technique. I'm still working on that. But anyway, Palisade was a great experience, and just loved it. And Claudia has just a great gym in the backyard right there. And San Paulo continued to spend time there, and we've had a lot of improvements. And since the last meeting, we had the road around the reservoir resurfaced prior to the Ironman competition. And we should make note of the cooperation between parks, the county, and tourism and the Water Conservancy District to make all that happen. I think that came together and was a really good success. And that was utilizing the contractor that's rapidly finishing up the campground that's there on the southeast side of the park. And the contractor did a good job. And that all came together. I've also visited Coral Peak and appreciated that. When I was a kid, I used to take my homemade dune buggy there on weekends. And I remember back then there was a couple places where you could access the park and go in and spend time. And it was $5 back then to go into the park. And I had no problem paying $5 because it allowed me to go and use the restroom and wash a bunch of dirt off my face afterwards. And I thought that was a small price to pay for utilizing the service of the park. And today, I still think that we're providing incredible service for the price that we have for entrance fees. And I think that there's a lot of silly people when they challenge what they're getting for the price that we're charging. I think we got some incredible services at parks and good things happening up there. Anyway, appreciate everybody's time and board reports, and encourage everybody to get out there and spend time and get back with staff if you have feedback, positive or negative, or just comments in general. And appreciate everybody on the board here. You guys are great people. Let's go ahead and move on to our division reports. And Scott, are you going to be the first off the bat here?
I would be happy to. Honored.
Did you see? I'm trying to rock a Dennis Strong bolo tie.
I did notice, and I'm impressed. That's 2 references today, so thank you for that.
So I worked with Scott's dad, Dennis, Water Resources for many years. He's a great man. He was a Mr. Bolo tie, so I'm trying to carry on the tradition, and I'm trying to encourage Scott to step it up as well. So far, he's just not there.
I will keep working on it.
Dave, just gotta go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to thank, first off, I do this often, but I really mean it, and I hope that you feel the sincerity, but just thanks to each one of you for your dedication and insight and perspective that you bring. We very much appreciate each of you and the time that you take away from your busy lives and work to come spend time with us. I've been so impressed to see many of you in the last few weeks even, and can't thank you enough. I can't even keep track of the number of times that I've seen Joni probably in the last 3 or 4 months, whether it was up in Vernal or just the other day out at Willard Bay State Park. There's a little bit of feedback. Hopefully the sound is coming through, but I also wanted to thank Natalie for spending essentially 3 days with us on a tour where we took the lieutenant governor and some of the governor's staff. That makes a world of difference when the staff can hear from us, the state park staff, as well as from you folks. I think that it buys us more credibility when we have that kind of support from you. And then Leisha just did a fantastic job hosting the UTIA conference in Vernal. And it's incredible for me to go to those events, those conferences, and see how seamless it looks from, someone who's just shows up and enjoys the good time and the good food. But I can't remember how many times, again, I watched Joni and Leisha and Natalie just running all over the place to make those things happen. So I know there's a lot that happens in the background, and just thank you each for that. I still use some of the things that I learned from that conference today. The emotional intelligence breakout session was just incredible and so entertaining as well as useful. So thank you for that. I also wanted to thank the Southeast Region team for hosting the meeting today. Jeff sent me a picture from last night or yesterday when you were at Dead Horse Point State Park, and it looked like you were all having a great time. Might have been a little bit cold, but looked like I could see a lot of smiling faces, so that's great. I have 3 things that I want to share today. I want to talk about back to the tours that we hosted, and then I'm going to talk about our funding requests. And then after that, I want to give you just a brief update on Parks Pass. So I'll jump into the first one, which is the tours. Some of you might ask, why in the world are you taking time to put these tours together and to get out of the office when you're super busy to take these people and show them what we do? But I'll tell you, we took the governor's staff, including the executive director of planning and budget. Sophie is the one that she makes essentially the budget pitches to the governor. So she helps decide which projects get funded and which don't. We spent time with the lieutenant governor, which was fabulous. And then we also spent time with the governor's rural advisor. And as has been mentioned, that we spent time with the legislative fiscal analyst. But the reason we spend time with these folks is so that they can get a better perspective, boots on the ground perspective of what we do. And I think it's so interesting. We meet with these folks in the office, and we put great presentations together, and they ask good questions, and all goes well. But I'll tell you, it makes a world of difference to get them out, to have them see our parks, to see the needs firsthand, and that we don't make requests unless we really need these requests. They are critical requests. And every time we get them out on the ground to see the projects, they all walk away saying the same thing. And it's actually it's fun to hear, but they talk about, wow, you really do need these funds to do these things. And then they talk about our staff and how incredible our staff are. And then the last thing that they all say is, we can't wait to come back and bring our family and friends to the state parks. It's just, they're reinvigorated. It's like a new discovery that they have to show other people. So in the end, it makes a huge difference to put on these tours, and we appreciate your support with the tours. And although it is a lot of work and time, it pays off. And this year, to go into the payoff with it, I wanted to talk about just briefly, I think I mentioned them in the last board meeting, but we are moving forward with 8 different funding requests, and I'll go over those. And these are, again, what we talked about in the tours. as we went out. But the first one is the Great Salt Lake State Park water line. That's $6 million. Almost said $600,000. Left out a zero there. $6 million. That's in addition to $2.5 million that we requested and received a couple of years ago. That's an expensive project, but it's a project that if we don't get it fixed, we won't have a park out there. We won't be able to host our guests. The next request is $1.255 million for staffing. This is to attract seasonal staff to our parks, to pay them better, as well as full-time staff. The next one is $1.5 million for current expense. That's essentially to keep the lights on and to take care of the garbage, those kind of expenses. Then we have law enforcement needs. We have some equipment in law enforcement that just it's dated and needs to be replaced. So we're asking for $250,000 to replace that equipment. The next one, and Claudia should be super happy about this one, as well as Natalie probably saw our golf carts at Wasatch Mountain State Park Golf Course, but we're asking for $2.6 million, and about $1 million, just a little bit less than $1 million, would be used to replace all of our golf carts at Wasatch Mountain State Park Golf Course and Soldier Hollow Golf Course. And what we would do is we would take the best carts from those two courses, and we would trickle the best carts down to Palisade and Green River golf courses. So essentially they would be getting carts that are about 3 or 4 years old, and then we would continue to cycle those through and get much better carts. Some of the carts that we have at Green River Golf Course right now are 15, almost 20 years old. So we need to replace those golf carts. The next one is $500,000 for lodging. As some of you may have seen at our parks, like Gunlock State Park, we have tiny houses. We'd like to acquire more of those. And it's an amenity that we see our visitors and guests just demanding all the time. And we're super excited about that. Then we have a general request for $4.75 million, and that's for basic park improvements. So there's a litany of items on that list as far as, infrastructure. So we're talking about replacing sewer lines and restrooms and water lines, asphalt, all of those sort of things fit into that bucket. The last one on the bigger request is for retail items. We have $1 million that we're requesting for retail. We've never asked for a retail appropriation in the past. And we've noticed that over the last 10 or 15 years, that our sales are just exploding at all of our parks, and we need to get access to more money to buy retail items. When you add those up, all of the requests that I just mentioned, it comes to $21.15 million. And I know that sounds like a lot of money and probably a bit daunting because it is a lot of money. But I do want to reassure you that we have money in our bank account, and we have done these kind of requests over the last 10 or 15 years and have been able to maintain that bank account balance. To reemphasize again, all of the money that we're requesting, so this $21 million, is coming from our restricted account. And I looked this morning at our account balance, and it's the highest I've ever seen it. It'll start to go down because of the winter. We're not bringing in as much revenue and our expenses continue, but it was $32 million. And I share that to give you a little bit of perspective as to we can fund these projects. We've funded them in the past, and we've been able to maintain our healthy account balance. And in fact, if we look back over the last 5 or 6 years, we've invested over $100 million of our restricted fee money back into our state parks. And this is for reinvestment of, into infrastructure improvements, renovation of old facilities, adding new facilities, as well as adding many other guest amenities to our parks. So again, it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but we can't afford it, for sure. With that, we also, and we talked about this at the last board meeting, but I want to re-emphasize it because we're getting ready for the legislative session, but we're requesting 2 fees to be increased. We're requesting the camping fee go from a maximum fee of $40 to a maximum fee of $60. And again, if you remember from our last board meeting, that doesn't mean across the board that all campsites would go to $60. It'll depend upon time of year, amenities available, all of those sorts of things go or factor into how much we charge for a campsite. The lodging fees are going from $120 a night to a maximum of $200 a night. And in part, this is because of the tiny houses. And we can sleep 6 to 8 people in a tiny house. And we feel like that closer to $200 a night is reasonable for that lodging opportunity. The next piece that I want to talk about is Parks Pass. And just as a quick reminder, Parks Pass is being developed in conjunction with the students and staff at Utah Tech University, Dixie Technical College, and Southern Utah University. And it's focused on technology and using technology to benefit our guests and our staff. So the first piece of Parks Pass, and really where Representative Brooks and I hatched this idea, is that we needed an application, a means, an online app, where folks like Claudia, I think, mentioned that you could prepay your day use fee online. So that's where it started, was just paying your day use fees. And this was part of COVID, of course, where we wanted to mitigate any health concerns. But there's also huge demand for it. So being able to pay your day use fees online, there's also part of this where we can, as staff, we can use it for events and adventure fees. So people can pay their permits, like for the Bison Roundup or special events and equipment rentals. They can do that through the app. They can pay their special use fees. So if a private business wants to come in and do something for a period of time in our parks, they can go through Parks Pass to fill out that application and pay their fee. We'll have interactive maps, which will help guide our guests through the parks, as well as when or if there are problems, we'll be able to find those folks and help them quicker than we have in the past. We've deployed Starlink and brought Wi-Fi to our parks. And this is both to help our staff as well as guests. So this is an open system that our guests can use. The technology folks that work for the state always shut down Wi-Fi. They restrict it to park staff only. And again, this would allow our guests to use the Wi-Fi at parks. We have webcams. Webcams are great because I can tell you about a park and the conditions, or you could go look at a picture or a video, and that's worth 1,000 words. So webcams are great, as well as security cameras and trail counters. We've got radar for tracking vehicles. We're going to get a lot better about visitation numbers and much more accurate as far as accurate information as far as where our visitors are going and how long they're staying there, so that we can manage and plan better. They help with sign design and printing. They helped with the annual pass design and printing. And I love it. I love the new wallet size, credit card size pass, and I'm excited to roll that out. As well as digital annual passes. We're going to tie your annual pass to your phone, and we'll geo-fence the parks so that when Leisha comes in with her family, she won't even have to show her pass. It'll show up on a computer screen and say, welcome Leisha and her family to the park.
That's scary, right?
Which is super great. We have digital brochures as well as printed brochures that they help us design and produce. I can't remember who it was, but we've talked about this several times. There are passports that we're going to do. They're going to be digital passports. So you don't have to remember where you left your passport, your paper booklet, which is really exciting. We're going to have an online store as well as a fulfillment center. So it'll be fulfilled. You place an order for an item, and it could be at any of our parks, and it'll be fulfilled not at the park level, so it's not added work for them, but we'll have it delivered, say, from St. George. And then with the retail operations, they've designed merchandise, the hats, shirts. I think some of you have shirts that they made for us, which is great. They can also help us with marketing, and marketing doesn't just mean marketing to our guests, but it also we want to use that tool to attract camp hosts and seasonal staff, as well as promote our events that we have at the parks. We just deployed an audio tour at Antelope Island State Park, which is fabulous, and we're looking at doing that at the museums as well. I went on a tour of Alcatraz and did an audio tour, and I was blown away by all of the things that they can do and the way that they pull you into history. And I think these audio tours will be able to do that, give you a total different experience, immerse you into that experience, as well as those who have barriers. We'll be able to overcome some of the barriers that our guests have. The next thing is electronic signposts for camping. Many of you probably have gone to our campgrounds and seen that we clip on a little reserve tag on every post. That's an outdated and kind of archaic way of doing it, but right now it's the only way we have to do it. We're testing out an idea where that will be an automated process, and it'll again have, if she's at Willard Bay and she's reserve site 22, it'll have her information on there on that signpost so that she and others will know that site's been reserved and it's for her and her family. Communication, this is going to be a platform where we'll be able to communicate with our guests and our staff. So this could be, a guest could have a problem on a trail, or they could see something kind of neat on a trail. I use the idea of, I think somebody saw a desert tortoise at Snow Canyon State Park, and they didn't know what to do, and it was crossing the road. So they could reach out to the park and almost instantly get a response of, this is what you should do, and this is how you handle that situation. Or the staff could let them know that they'll come and help with that situation. I don't have the figures. We allow our guests on the app to give donations, and we've collected tens of thousands of dollars so far just in the last year in donations, which is pretty amazing. And again, this platform, the sole purpose is, well, not the sole purpose, but one of the purposes, the original purpose, was to make it as easy as possible for people to pay their fees. I really do believe that people want to pay their fees, but we need to make it as easy as possible for them to do that. And donations is just another one of those pieces where it shows that people do. You make it easy for them, and they're more than happy to support us. The next one that I want to talk about is Marina Manager. We had our current vendor try to build a Marina Manager reservation system. They couldn't do it, so Parks Pass came in and did it, and are working with our staff. And it's so great to put the programmers together with our staff to see what they come up with, because it's what our guests as well as our staff need. The students and staff at the universities have done a great job with public service announcement, education, information, safety information, as well as how to recreate responsibly. And they do it in a fun way and also in a very professional way. But it's great to see that. They're working on a golf tee sheet. That's for tee times for those of you who are familiar with golf. And I talked about this as far as with the radar and LiDAR. LiDAR reads license plates. And so we'll gain a lot of information and automated information from that, including real-time data, which is great. And we installed some information or some of these devices up at This Is the Place Heritage Park a couple of weeks ago, and it's been working fabulously. They have an event coming up and wanted more data and information on that, and it's giving them exactly what they want. And then the last thing that I'll mention that Parks Pass is working on is providing IT equipment. they can get us iPhones, iPads, computers, and other technology related devices, and they can do it very, very quickly. Are there any questions about Parks Pass before I kind of wrap up?
On the golf tee time reservation, if you note that, could you also have it so it would populate a card? So you don't have to have the card and then a pencil, but you have to grab it with you and record your score.
I can only hear, I heard part of that. I think what you're talking about is the punch pass or even the season pass for golf. And yes, that would be incorporated into it. That would be digitized and electronic on the platform.
Scott, she was.
I play miniature golf really good, by the way, but I have a little app on my phone that lets me record what score we got on each hole. So if you have a tee time reserved, and could you also populate some kind of a scorecard on your phone, so you're not having to pack a little pencil and a little paper and try to record every hole score.
I've got you now. Yes. We can definitely do that. And in fact, that's just the beginning of it. It'll keep your score, but it'll also tell you the distance to the hole. It'll tell you information about the hole. It'll be GPS enabled. So yes, sorry, I couldn't hear part of that, Claudia, but it will do that.
Is there some golf, I'm not golfing, is there some golf rules and golf etiquette where by rules you have to write it down and carry that? Is that part of it?
No, you can have a digitized scorecard, and you can sign it digitally too if you're playing in a tournament or something like that. The last thing with Parks Pass, we also want to give people an opportunity not to just buy or rent. Let's talk about rentals for a second. But if I wanted to rent a kayak at East Canyon State Park, I can rent my kayak. I can pay my day use fee. I can, if they have a blow up toy or a water toy or something like that, I can do all of that in one place before I get to the park. And it's just a seamless process versus I get there and I have to, pay my fee to get into the park, and then I have to rent the kayak, and then now I want to, let's say they have a beach chair and umbrella, and now I want to rent that. It can all be done in one place. Any other questions? Okay, I wanted to wrap up. So I talked about, again, in the beginning, just about the tours, our funding requests, and then Parks Pass. The last thing I want to mention is just, I feel a little bit bad that Dave isn't here, but maybe it's a good thing that he isn't. I don't want to get too emotional, but this will be Dave's last, my gosh. This will be his last board meeting. He's retiring in December, and the selfish part of both Jeff and myself have tried to talk Dave into staying. I'd love it if Dave would stay another 10 years, but this is his decision, and he's put in 32 years with state parks, and it's time for him to move on to the next journey. I do want to publicly thank him for both the service that he's given state parks, as well as the relationship that he and I have. Dave is just a solid human being. He's someone who I respect and admire, and I've appreciated every day working with him. And I, again, just wanted to express my appreciation in this forum to him. And I kind of hope he's not listening, but I'm extremely grateful for Dave, and I'll miss him. That's it.
You gonna have a party for Dave?
Haven't confirmed a date yet, but we will, and we'll invite you all.
Thank you, Scott. It's kind of a sober note to end your works on there, and yeah, since today's attendance, I guess publicly want to thank him for his great service to the division, and what a great person and a friend. And from the outside looking in, I appreciate just the strong friendship and partnership that the three of you guys have. It's kind of the three amigos, the three musketeers, or, you know, it appears you guys all have different opinions and share it and get the job done. And what a great working relationship and friendship you guys have. And Dave will be sorely missed, but we're excited for him after a long career and doing great things. We'll look forward to seeing him in person and sharing some moments, and please keep us posted as how where that goes. Questions for Scott on his report. Scott, one question I have for you is on wages. I think your second or third thing that you put out there with your all those zeros and commas and stuff. With this incredible inflation that we're seeing, with cost of living, even when we saw Social Security, they're looking at 7.8% or something like that this year, unprecedented. What are you doing there with wages for our staff, our seasonals, our permanent employees, or how are you addressing that?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I would be shocked if Jeff doesn't have that on his list too. But a few of the things, just very briefly, that I'll mention, and Jeff can fill in the gaps. But we've done some unprecedented things in state parks. The first thing that we did was 4 or 5 years ago, we implemented the SIP program. So that's a program where folks can contribute by doing things that are outside of their normal duties that either save us money or make us money. So in doing that, when they complete those, they get an automatic increase. That's something that just doesn't happen in state government. So they're eligible for that increase, and we've done that for the last 4 or 5 years. We've also, over the last 2 years, again, this is unprecedented in state government, but 2 years ago, we instigated a $1 an hour raise across the board. And then this last year, we did a $2 an hour across the board increase. And then in addition to that, we have several other programs where we put money into our staff's pocket. So that's primarily for full-time staff. As far as the seasonal staff, over the last 2 or 3 years, probably longer than that, we've requested money year after year for seasonal staff specifically. We've increased our wages from $9.08 an hour up to $16 an hour, so that we can be more. We have to be more competitive. I think it was in Moab that we saw, they were paying $19.50 an hour to work at McDonald's. We want to be ahead of McDonald's. We don't want the McDonald's rejects. So that's again what the request is for this year, is that we can continue to find money, have money available to pay folks who are incredible and engaged employees to come work seasonally at our state parks. And, Corey, as far as that goes, there is a side note of sometimes our full-time staff gets a little bit up in arms about, well, how come you're paying the seasonal person almost what you're paying me? And we have those discussions and explanations about the benefits of being a full-time employee. Is, you get insurance, retirement, paid days off, all of those things. And that is a balancing act, but we are constantly seeking more money. And we know that whether, you mentioned Social Security going up, the consumer price index went up almost 9%. So everything that we buy and it just costs more today, and that's going to continue to go up with inflation and everything else that's going on and that we foresee over the next few years.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And sorry, just one other point to go on or to include with that, Corey, is that we're looking at housing. Housing is another barrier for our seasonal staff, and so we're looking at camper trailers and the park model RVs to help them with that too. So they don't have to come get a job with state parks and then pay rent, to live in town at Green River and then try to drive out to to Goblin Valley State Park or something like that. So that's another way to help somebody financially come work for us.
Thank you. And I appreciate the flexibility you give your park managers to, to bring in people and to make that happen. I always still feel like that they are reluctant to do that, to make those decisions. And I think they need constant encouragement to kind of balance that, to manage their budgets, but yet bring in the good people that they need, take care of their needs there. Anyway, appreciate all you do. Any other comments or questions for Scott? Okay. We don't have Dave here. Are you going to cover Dave's stuff, or how do you want to address that?
Yes, that was fine.
Perfect. Do you think, John?
Since Scott brought up the salary discussion, I actually wasn't going to talk about this because I felt like I probably already had too much. But, I figure I will, especially since I have a list in front of me that Scott didn't have in front of him. This is information that we recently shared to our employees just to help them understand that we are working to improve salaries across the board, and we hear their concerns about keeping up with the cost of living and just trying to stay competitive and fair as an agency. And there are a lot of things, like Scott mentioned, that we do as an agency, a state agency, that I believe probably no other state agency does, and I'm pretty proud of that. One thing Scott touched on the salary improvement plan of 3% that we offer all of our employees every year for stepping up and going above and beyond. And he talked about the $1 and $2 across the board increases. And what I love about those across the board increases is they aren't percentages. Most of the time when the state does an increase, they do it at a percentage rate, and that benefits the people that are making the most, the best, obviously, because it's going to be a higher number. Well, we felt like the people that need the increase more than anyone are our entry-level employees, the people starting out at some of the entry-level positions. And so, those increases, while they don't sound like a lot, they benefit the people that aren't making as much as some of the folks in the higher positions within our agency or some of the folks that have been around a while. So I thought that was really cool. Just real quick, the other things that we do on top of just regular state cost of living increases, we offer a probationary increase. So everybody that joins our agency after a year's worth of time served with our agency qualifies for a 6% increase for every position. We offer a 6% lateral increase. So if I'm a park ranger at a Palisade, we require at least 3 years of service at your location in order to qualify for this, but I can move into another park ranger position at another park and qualify for a 6% lateral increase. I don't think there's any other agency that does that. We look at it as a benefit to the employee, to be able to gain new knowledge and experience that can be beneficial as they serve their career with state parks. We offer a 3% increase for employees who receive specialized training. So we're sending a lot of our managers to a state park leadership school in Virginia each January. And this leadership school is taught by state park professionals all across the country. I know, Meg, you attended it, right, Meg? I wish I could have attended it years ago, but it's an exceptional experience for the employee to be able to build skills and knowledge that can help them in their career, and they get a 3% bump. We recently adopted a state park ranger series salary plan that guarantees minimum salaries when you take promotions throughout the state park ranger series. And what I mean by that is our park ranger positions, assistant park manager positions, park manager through levels, park manager 1, 2, and 3, our region manager positions, deputy director. I think my position as director is included on that. What that means is if you're a park ranger and you jump from park ranger to park manager 3 or park manager 2, in the past, you would only qualify for a 12% increase because that's the standard that we do. Now you're guaranteed a minimum to serve in that position that is more equivalent to your counterparts, which I think is a heck of a lot more fair. I don't think any other agency does that. There recently was an offer, and this one was statewide, to convert to an at-will status in state government that offered a 5% increase. It was kind of a scary proposition for a lot of our employees who felt that Schedule B came with a lot of protections. But the reality is if you're doing your job and doing a good job at it, we're not in the business of trying to get rid of employees. We want to recruit employees and we want to retain them. And many of our employees have taken advantage of that. So bottom line, I don't want to spend all my time on this, but we're trying to do a lot to improve salaries and help people pay the bills. And while you'll never get rich working for the government, and if you do, you probably ought to have the auditors look your direction. I think we're doing a pretty good job keeping up as good as we can. Now, that certainly doesn't mean that we stop and keep our feet up and say, job well done. There's still work to do, and we're continuing to work on that. But like Scott mentioned, our restricted account balance is healthy, and we're asking for more money to address salary issues throughout the division, and we're going to do more. So maybe more than you asked for.
So Jeff, was the 5% that have to come out of your budget?
Yes.
That at will?
Well,
Or did the state fund this? Because they were the ones that put out this changing status.
I believe there was money to fund that. However, I'm betting that it's going to come out of our restricted account, and that's fine.
Well, she had to fund it from that. Totally, yeah.
And that's always the challenge with any increase, and that's why salary is so difficult. It's not a one-time thing. These salary increases are for the rest of an employee's career. So you really have to have a solid plan on how you're going to pay for it. But we're in a good position to be able to do it. And like Scott says, we want to get the cream of the crop. We don't want to take what's left over from other entities that are offering employment opportunities. That's the idea. We want to find what am I trying to say? Quality employees, and we want to keep them working for our agency. Thank you. Okay, yes, I was planning on covering what I had brought, and Dave sent me some things to share with you, and I'll go through that real quick. And just to talk about Dave super quick, we love Dave. I hate to acknowledge the fact that he's leaving, but I am happy for him. He's had a long, very successful career with state parks, and can't tell you how thankful we are to have had him serve in the position and all of the positions that he's been with our agency. One quick note on Dave that I just think shows what a great work ethic he has. He is going 150%, even with just 1 month left in his career. Well, a lot of people would kick their feet out, and you hear that saying, retired in place, and they just do the bare minimum to get by because their mind's on something else. Not Dave. He's not only going full speed, but he's taking on new things, which I think is just an amazing testament to what a great work ethic Dave has. So we are planning on having a retirement party for him, and we'll definitely send you invites, but we're going to miss the heck out of Dave. And Scott and I were just talking a couple days ago that we plan to incorporate lunch visits on our way back and forth to northern Utah, so we can continue the relationship. But he's just an exceptional guy, and he would be here if he could, but I know he's getting better. He's just got that bug that's been going around. So anyway, I wanted to talk about, give you a project update. Over the last 3 legislative sessions, State Parks has received over $200 million in funds to be able to reinvest into our state park system, to build 2 new state parks. You saw Utah Raptor yesterday, and to add more recreational amenities to the public in our state parks. And that's unprecedented. A lot of that was general fund money. And I think it really speaks volumes to the how the legislature views what we're doing in our state parks and how happy they are with what we're doing. And we love it. We'll take it. We're going to make them proud. We've been working on these projects, some of them for 3 or 4 years, and it's frustrating when people saw that money going to state parks, and I even got a call from some legislators before the money was even appropriated. So when are you gonna be cutting the ribbon? I wish it was just as easy as, you know, the money gets deposited in our bank account, we call a contractor. You know, the next day they're on site building, but there is a process to follow. There's rules that we have to follow being government with procurement, with environmental and cultural clearances and bidding, and there's just so many things that you have to do, and it is kind of frustrating, but there's you know, there's a reason why all those processes are in place. We're finally to the point where things are happening on the ground, and we're seeing the results of those. And I wanted to share 4 projects with you, hopefully up on screen. Let's start with Rockport if we could. Rockport Base and Picnic Area at Rockport State Park in Summit County. Hopefully it'll come up here on the screen. No, you're good. There it is. Okay, so we bought some drones for our construction folks, and they've taken some amazing pictures. When I first saw this picture, I thought maybe it was a landscape picture that was kind of deformed, and it kind of looks that way, but it is a really good view of the entire project. This is one of our smaller projects. It adds a lot of additional beach access at the end of the road at Rockport State Park with a ton of camping, picnic tables, shade shelters. It's kind of hard to see here in this light room, but there are probably at least a dozen shade shelters with picnic facilities, paths that go down to the beach. And this project was actually finished this fall, but we decided that we'd wait until spring to cut the ribbon because we want to get people excited about it next year when you know they're ready to go have picnics and use the water. So we'll have a ribbon cutting as soon as the snow clears on that one. Let's jump
So
to.
Jack, I remember reading something in the report about litigation. Yes. Can you comment on that, or is that off limits?
Well, so we had a concessionaire at Rockport State Park that chose to go a different direction and unfortunately left some of their customers hanging with reservations that weren't honored, and we're working through that process right now. But we are in a transition with our concession operation at Rockport, and I think that's what you're referring to. And it's not necessarily in the court system, but we're working through transitioning into another concessionaire. Pretty sure that's what you're referring to.
Did state parks try to help with those reservations that were?
Oh, yeah.
So
Definitely.
try to-
We've, in fact, Scott has personally reached out to everyone that we've heard of to try to find some sort of accommodation to be able to help them out, even if it's at a different park. Because it is still, you know, that concessionaire represents state parks, and, you know, from a customer point of view, I don't care if it's the concessionaire or who it is. I just want to take my family and go have a fun experience that I plan on doing, so we're certainly doing that. Okay, next one, Sand Hollow State Park. This is Corey's backyard. This one's zoomed out a little bit further than I like, but I chose this picture because it kind of gives you perspective of where this development is. This is a 30-unit campsite. About half of them have full hookups with sewer powered water. The other half have just water and power. But just like every other state park in our system, we can't build the campsites fast enough to keep up with the demand. There's huge demand. This is on the opposite side of the reservoir from where the majority of the other development is. This picture, I don't believe includes the road improvements that you were referring to, Corey, but it was just a good shot to show you that we have a campground now, and certainly it's not finished yet. We don't have the shade shelters there or the picnic tables, but this project should be done January 1st. I'm thinking a grand opening, ribbon cutting in February, and again, we'll invite you to that one, but we're super excited about it. Let's move to Echo.
How many campsites?
About 30. Yep. Okay, this one's a little dark, and it wasn't entirely, the paving wasn't entirely finished on it, but if you look, you can kind of see the new pavement, the darker pavement, on the top part of the picture, which is, you're looking south at Echo State Park right now. That is it's hard to put it into perspective here, but it's a really big parking lot. We've doubled and almost tripled the size of our parking capacity there at Echo State Park. If you've been there in the past, the parking was extremely limited. It was on 2 or 3 tiers. It was gravel and disorganized, and it's going to allow a lot more capacity for the boat trailers and day users. And on the lake side of that big parking lot is a picnic area where there'll be picnic tables that you can set up and overlook the lake. Now, the exciting part is on, at least in my opinion, is on the side closer to us that isn't entirely finished paving. That's kind of the end of the loop as you drive through the park on the north side of that parking area, and that's going to be a cabin village. You can kind of see the cabins lined up on, you can pull your cursor over them. On the side of the road, those are our I'm going to call them cottages, or mini homes that we've been talking about. So that area on the north end of that parking lot is going to be a cabin village, and this is a picture of one of the cabins. They may not look like much from here. We got to tour them last week on one of our van tours. They are exceptional. 2 bedrooms, a loft. That area on the top with the little windows is a really cool loft area that the kids are going to just love to play in or sleep in. There's a bathroom, kitchen, a living room, and then that awesome deck on the outside. The decks are now facing the reservoir, and some of them are close enough that you can cast your fishing pole right out into the reservoir. It's going to be so awesome. And they're mini homes. I like to call them cottages, but they're going to be super popular. We're starting out with, I think, a half a dozen of them. If they work out like we think they're going to work out, we're going to add another half dozen, and we'll have 10 or 12 of them down there. In the meantime, the other 6 spots are going to be full hookup spots you can back an RV into. So super excited about that one. The last one is Deer Creek State Park. This is another campground that should be finished it will be finished by spring. This one is about 35 units, water and power. Part of this project was also in addressing a water pressure issue that we have at the park. You may have heard us talk about that in the past. Our other campground that's not on this side has suffered from low water pressure for years and years, and it's also been a fire concern. If there were a fire there and not having pressure for the firefighters coming to the park. So we were able to.
So we visited this last.
Yeah. So yeah, if you remember that, if you were there at the meeting,
It's roughed in.
it was just roughed in, but there is an exceptional view. It looks pretty flat, but it's actually on a slope, and it is going to be amazingly popular. But
So we were just right there above the restroom, just.
yep. So, Anyway, I just had to show you these pictures because it's so exciting to actually see progress. Our project managers, park managers have been working super hard on these projects, and those are the ones that are they're going to be finished by spring and we'll be getting grand openings. Okay, just real quick, the rest of the projects that we're working on, the ones that are well underway, Escalante State Park, we have a new campground going in down there with some additional mini homes and cottages. Quail Creek Campground is also well underway and should be done early next summer. The ones that are going to be bid out really soon that are fully designed and ready to be bid are campground at North Eden at Bear Lake. North Eden's on the east side. It's as far north in Utah as you can get. Our north property line is the Idaho fence. So that one's cool. Another one on the east side of Bear Lake is at Rainbow Cove. That'll be a day use parking area and campground. Another probably 35 to 40 unit campground. Lots of day use parking, beach access, beach improvement. It's going to be awesome. Jordanelle at Rock Cliff. Rock Cliff is where the Provo River comes into Jordanelle Reservoir. There actually used to be an old walk-in campground there, but we're gonna create a highway access down into there and make it a full-service RV campground. That one, we're hoping the second time is the charm. We've already bid it out once. It came in way over budget, and we're hoping now that hopefully construction is slowing down and maybe get some more interest in that one. Red Lake State Park, another really big project, will transform Red Fleet. I think it's one of our worst campground designs that we have. I call it a Walmart parking lot. If you like camping at Walmart, it's a great campground.
Lots of people do.
Anyway, we're gonna put in a full service campground. The sites will be spread out well. There's some improvements to get access down to the reservoir. Anyway, that one should be bid out soon. Green River State Park, where we were yesterday. Nathan talked a little bit about some additional sites that we're adding there. A cabin village right along the Green River. That's another one that I hope to be able to cast my fishing pole into the Green River and catch catfish. That one's going to be bid out soon. Utah Raptor State Park, same thing. We saw that one yesterday under less than favorable conditions, but that's an amazing park. Lost Creek State Park, our other new state park in Morgan County, should be bid out soon. And then the last one is a smaller project that we have at Utah Lake State Park. You're familiar with Utah Lake. There's a big lawn area to your left as you drive in, and that's really underutilized. We're going to be putting in a really nice playground set, an exercise walkway, kind of a track that goes around it. I think it's a 1/4-mile track, so mom and dad can get their exercise in while the kids play on the playground. But it's going to be a fun project. Two more. The really big one is the Bear Lake Marina. It's a $60 million project. It was funded last session. We are very early in the stages of getting the Corps of Engineers permit and other permits that we need to be able to move forward in that project. We're hosting a public meeting next week up in Garden City. You're certainly welcome to come if you'd like. It's from 5 to 7 on the 16th. And we'll be talking about what we're doing, gathering feedback from the public, showing them the locations that we're considering for the marina, and hopefully all goes well. And we get the permits by spring. We bid it out early summer, and I'm hoping that we can have that project finished by the end of 2024. That's the plan. Last one is Antelope Island Visitor Center. This is one that was also funded last session with the sales tax money that came to state parks. And this project was I guess the scope of this project was increased tremendously with an effort that Speaker Wilson's office and many others, the governor, has in educating the public about the importance of the Great Salt Lake. Basically helping people understand what a great value and resource the Great Salt Lake is to Utah and really to the world. And really also help them understand why they need to care about it. I think I mentioned it before, we're going to build an IMAX theater with that visitor center project. It's going to be a full-size IMAX theater, 212 seats, the whole meal deal. I got to go to an event, I think it was last week, with Ducks Unlimited, who's going to be a major sponsor of this project, and got to see one of their IMAX films about the importance of birds and bird migration, which may or may not sound interesting to you, but it was an IMAX film, 3D, and we had birds flying through the theater and pooping on us, and it was incredible. So the idea is we're going to create a movie with a similar experience, maybe minus the bird poop, that is going to blow people away. Lazy board recliners in the theater with seat heaters and a tremendous sound system. We want people to come to this movie and be blown away and talk to their friends and family about what a cool experience it was, with the idea that we want people to understand, like I was saying, why they need to care about the Great Salt Lake and what a tremendous resource it's going to be. I'm excited about this project, and we're going to be able to use this theater as a multi-use room. So it's not
Ready for parties for ourselves.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? So I'm thinking we can host our employee development school, we can fit all of our full-time employees in that theater. We can host interpretive events. It's going to be amazing attraction.
Can I interrupt you there? So you talk about a visitor center there, and yesterday we looked at Dead Horse with this visitor center and challenges, and just touch a little bit on visitor centers and where you see the greatest need for them and how they how they function also financially with what they bring in versus their costs and just.
Sure. I'm personally not a huge advocate for visitor centers because I believe that people come to our parks to experience our parks and not sit in the building. But I think there are some exceptions. And I would say Antelope Island is one because of the experience that we're trying to create with this film. Another one is Great Salt Lake State Park. I'm honestly embarrassed with what we call visitor center out of Great Salt Lake. It's a triple wide trailer that used to be the Salt Lake City Welcome Center on I-80 that we've kind of transformed. We did the best with both resources that we have. Great Salt Lake is another state park where I think a visitor center experience is important because it's a small state park. We get a lot of tour buses and people come out there and kind of do the Chevy Chase thing that he did on vacation. We went to the Grand Canyon. They get out of the car, they look at it and say, yep, looks good. Get in the car and they leave. Well, there's so much more to it. And I think there's an opportunity to build a visitor center at Great Salt Lake and partner with maybe some of the universities to do research there. Maybe Rio Tinto or some other company could be a partner in helping us make it happen. But I don't personally believe visitor centers make sense in a lot of our state parks because there's such a huge expense. The thing that I didn't point out on the Antelope Island project is the addition of our IMAX theater to that already $12 million project is going to add another $16 million to it. So we're going to be approaching $30 million to build this visitor center at Antelope Island. Now, we're doing this at Antelope Island for more than just a visitor experience. It's going to be about education. But to spend $30 million to build a building, think about all the campgrounds, campsites, trailheads, parking areas, all the good things that you could do to benefit the visitors that come to our state parks to recreate outdoors. And I personally think that money in most of our parks is better spent on those types of amenities. The one thing that I failed to mention on the IMAX theater and the Great Salt Lake film is the plan is they're going to incorporate this experience into, I think they said 5th grade school curriculum. So, and with the idea that they intend to get sponsors to be able to get money to the schools to be able to pay for the programs that get the kids educated early on the importance of the Great Salt Lake. And I think that's really going to help make the whole thing viable. Does that answer your question?
I appreciate that. Thanks for good perspective. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question. So I was visiting with Lisa when we were doing Raptor State Park, and of course all there is pit toilets there, but I also read in the report that your well that you drilled was dry for water. So in developing Raptor State Park, if there's no water, is it just gonna stay primitive? I mean, what are you looking at doing with Raptor if you can't find?
I'll take a stab at it and maybe Megan can fill in any blanks, but Utah Raptor is going to have water. Now, whether it's water that tastes good, that's going to be debatable, but we've got to have water to have a successful state park. We talked about how we haul water up to Dead Horse Point. We've tried many times to be able to get a well drilled at Dead Horse Point, but if you look at how far down the river is from that point up there, I think that's a lot of why we've never been able to find water. It's a long, long ways down. Our well that we have at Utah Raptor is 1,000 feet.
Yeah, 1,200, I think, but water is a little bit above that.
So we did get water. It's just not good water. And it's going to require a lot of treatment to be able to make it usable. We're still exploring opportunities on how we might be able to find water, but to me, it's not acceptable, and we've got to go back to the drawing board because hauling water is just not a viable option. It's super labor intensive. It's very expensive. It limits what you can do at the state park. So we're not giving up yet. At Utah Raptor, we're actually having the same issue at Lost Creek, which just baffles me because we're drilling a well right next to that reservoir, and we haven't had any luck finding water yet. So we're exploring opportunities at Lost Creek with potentially using surface water, which is going to require a lot of treatment on our side. But again, just like with Utah Raptor, not having water at a state park where we're bringing in literally, in a lot of cases, hundreds of thousands of visitors and even topping millions, we just can't, we have to find water, so we're not going to give up. But it's a huge challenge. Did I miss anything on water?
Oh, that's great.
Okay, I don't want to get us behind. I always end up talking longer than I planned, so I hope this is useful for you. Just a quick update on Bridalveil Falls State Monument. So Bridalveil Falls was made a state monument last legislative session. Not a whole lot has happened since the session. And part of the reason for that is because we're working with Utah County right now on a management agreement. So if you remember, Bridalveil Falls is actually owned by Utah County, but has the state monument designation. So we're doing this one a little differently than the other two monuments that we have in our state park system, where it's going to be a partnership between state parks and Utah County. Right now, we're hammering out what that agreement looks like. Where we're going with the agreement is that Utah County will continue to do the day-to-day operation at Bridalveil Falls. That's key to the success of keeping Bridalveil Falls as a free area. We held public meetings in the early planning stages of what we were going to do with Bridalveil Falls, and the number one thing that we heard in bold capital letters was, we don't want to pay a fee to come and visit Bridalveil Falls. And I told Utah County, that's fine. We can do that as long as Utah County continues to take care of the day-to-day maintenance. But if they're not able to do that, we pay our fees, or we pay our costs with fees, and we'll have to consider fees down the road. Right now, it's moving smoothly, and they've agreed to be able to do that. We just need to get that into a contract and in writing. I'm actually meeting with the Utah County Commission on November 30th to kind of hammer out the final details. We do have a draft, but we're getting super close. The other thing that we do have that's cool for Bridalveil Falls is we have about $2 million. Most of that is coming from pass-through money that comes to state parks that we're going to pass to Utah County for improvements. There's another about $400,000 of it is being routed through the Division of Recreation for trail improvement in the area. So there's going to be some improvements at Bridalveil Falls that we'll work together with Utah County to figure out what they're going to be. But I know it's going to be parking, a restroom, signage, interpretive signage, stuff like that. So there are things happening, just in case you were wondering.
That has a steady flow of people opening in there. Because when you go down that stupid little road that you have.
It's a huge attraction.
Yeah.
Well, it's just such a beautiful,
The trail.
it's such a beautiful site. I think it's hard to drive by it without trying to look at it. I'm usually driving, so I should be paying attention to the road, but it's an amazing site. So we're happy to be able to hang our name on it. The other two, if you forgot, are Danger Cave and Old Irontown, and we're also working to improve those sites, improve the signage, and in fact, we've got some projects going on out in Old Irontown, west of Cedar City, where we're going to be out. We're doing some paving out there. We're adding some interpretive signs. We've made some improvements to the ruins. We're going to have a ribbon cutting for that this spring as well. So things are moving along with the state monuments. Speaking about employees, it's time for us to hold our employee development school. That's where we get the entire division together and offer opportunities for training, for networking for our folks, get to know each other. Remember that we're all a team working together and have some fun. We're intending on having that this will be March in southern Utah, probably either in Washington County, possibly at the Washington, can't remember what it's called, the Washington County Event Center, if I want to say, where we had it in 2017. I think you were there, Claudia. There were 2 or 3 board members there, but that's coming up. I'm excited about it. We put a team together that represents the various aspects of what we do with state parks, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity. So more to come on that. I'll finish with the legislative session. I can tell the legislative session is approaching because I'm getting a lot more calls from legislators on various topics and ideas. I think I mentioned in the past that there is work going on in the background with Representative Collard out of Magna to potentially create a new state park in the Okra Mountains. This one is very, very early in the details. I don't think there's going to be a bill that comes out in the session because there's a lot of details to work out. If you're familiar with the Okra Mountains, they are absolutely beautiful and there's a ton of potential there. The challenge is the majority of it is owned and managed by Rio Tinto. And so this is going to require a partnership with Rio Tinto. They are interested in the idea. We just got to figure out where it is, what it's going to be. Is it a state park or is it some other sort of recreation area? But we've been having those conversations. I expect to get some other ideas and possibly funding for more state park expansion efforts. I'm hearing that there's more money to invest in infrastructure and we'll take every dollar they want to throw our way. I'm expecting to hear some ideas and already have about free or discounted use. These ideas are a real challenge to us because of our pay-to-play direction that we've been given as an agency. It's really hard to consider offering additional free or discounted use and be able to pay the bills and be able to do it in a way without increasing costs for other visitors. I do remember, Lisa, your comment, I think you made a comment last board meeting about there are avenues to pursue to be able to help be able to offer that for people that might need it. And I'd like to explore those ideas, but I will say that it is a challenge because what I tell legislators when I talk to them about this is you can't have it both ways. You know, you can either have a subsidized model like we used to and offer these kinds of opportunities, or you can do what we're doing right now, which is what I believe works very well and is working very well for us. But I expect that we'll see some additional efforts and we'll just work with those as we go. Scott covered the building blocks. I'm confident that we'll get approval for those building blocks and they're going to help us out tremendously and we're super excited about them. There's going to be quite a few new legislators on our appropriations committee likely and throughout the legislature, and that's always an additional challenge for us to be able to get to know those legislators, get them familiar with what we do in state parks, and we'll be working on that as we learn who those folks are. So, but the good thing with the legislature is I continue to hear very, very positive feedback, and like I mentioned earlier, you look at the funding that they've put towards our agency, and to me, I think it's a testament that they're happy with what we're doing, and we're going to continue to make them happy, and as well as the governor's office, and we appreciate their support and everything that they do to help us do the good job that we do. The other thing I want to say is that we wouldn't be in this position without the great employees that we have in our state parks. Brent and I were talking about it on the way over. I think you mentioned, Brent, that whenever you go to our state parks, everybody's just so they're happy, they're enthusiastic, they love their job, and when you love your job, you do a good job at it. And that's what I love about working in this agency. We all sign up for this job because it's our dream job, and we believe in it. Most of us do the same things the services that we're offering in our state parks, and it really shows in the work product that they do. And had they not done a good job, we wouldn't get this kind of support that we're getting. So hats off to our employees that really are busting their butts 7 days a week to keep the sand right to Denver's Point State Park. So they just do an amazing job. That's all I had. Maybe I'll go through Dave's real quick and then we can start with questions. Any questions anybody might have or comments? Dave has a long list just like I did, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but I did have some highlights that I wanted to cover. our state parks continue to be busy, even when you wouldn't think they're busy. People are still recreating outdoors. If you recreate outdoors, I know you've had to notice the uptake in use, and it continues to happen. We're still, even this time of year, hosting many large events at our state parks. Our parks are still filling. You saw campers at Edwards Point on a weekday in the snow yesterday. They're still coming. There's still incidents and accidents that our folks are responding to. I wanted to mention a couple of recent ones that happened just a couple of weeks ago. Jason Allen, our park ranger at Deer Creek, responded to, unfortunately, a motorcycle accident on Highway 189. You know, we don't just do law enforcement, search and rescue, and response in our parks. A lot of times, we're the only person the only agency that has someone on site to be able to respond to emergencies. There was a motorcycle accident where, unfortunately, a woman riding a motorcycle on Highway 89 lost control of her motorcycle, went into the barrier, and lost her leg from her knee down. Super scary incident to be able to respond to. Jason was first on scene, and he was ready and prepared to apply a tourniquet to this woman's leg, and he saved her life. Just an amazing, very hard thing to be able to respond to. I saw a news article on a woman on Channel 13 recently, and she was just talking about how thankful she was for the response efforts. Unfortunately, we didn't get a shout out on it. A lot of times, you know, they kind of forget about the first responders, but hats off to Jason for being first on scene and being ready and able to be able to take those life-saving efforts. Another one, a brand new employee, Lucas Turkington. He's our assistant manager at Huntington Millsite Schofield, responded to a law enforcement incident in that area where they have a combative individual who was resisting efforts by the county officer who had responded to this incident, and the county officer had to deploy his taser a couple times, and it wasn't working. And our folks are carrying tasers now, and Lucas was ready to be able to do it. You know, it's the last thing that you want to do, but he was able to do it and do it successfully, and they got the suspect under control and into custody without any further incident. And these kind of situations are exceptionally stressful, and you have to make decisions on, you know, split seconds. And I just think it's incredible that he's there, he's ready to be able to do it. This is the first taser deployment that we've had in our agency, and it's not something that we take lightly. It's a lot like firing your gun. There's so many things, your firearm, that you have to take into consideration before you do it. And just hats off to Lucas for being in the right place at the right time and being able to assist Emory County in that tough incident. So we hear about at least a half a dozen of these every week that our employees are doing. And even this time of year, when you would think that state parks is sleepy, they're not sleepy. There's a lot of stuff going on in and around our state parks, and especially in Corey's neck of the woods this time of year where there really is no down season. So our folks are busy and they're doing an exceptional job. We just went through a ranger recruitment. We successfully found 5 candidates to fill ranger positions in our agency and made conditional offers. We're going through the background check process right now, but we're hoping to have them all hired on as of December 10th. So we're excited about doing that. We have 2 rangers that are in the police academy right now. They'll be graduating on December 8th. Not sure where they're going. One of them.
Yeah, Huntington Millsite Schofield, Hunter mentioned that.
Okay.
He's our buildings and grounds supervisor that's moved to law enforcement.
Wow.
It's good.
Anyway, we'll be swearing them in on December 8th, and we'll be excited to welcome them to the family. Scott mentioned van tours or just tours in general for stakeholders and agencies and getting people familiar with what we do and why we do it. And we're doing that with our employees as well. A lot of our employees, incredible. Even some of the employees that have been with us for a long time haven't been to all of our state parks. And, you know, our employees, no matter where you are, you're always a salesperson, an advocate for state parks and what we offer. It's important to be familiar with that. And there's a huge benefit in having that experience and opportunity. We just finished the van tour in northern Utah last week. I would say it's probably one of the coldest tours that we've ever offered. It was during that storm last week where first day was hurricane wind, second day was torrential downpour and snow and wind and cold. We were traveling through, I guess that's Bridge County, through Randolph and Woodruff, and I looked down at the temperature gauge on the vehicle I was driving, it's 8 degrees. So it was a cold tour. However, it was awesome. These tours are giving our employees an opportunity to not only get to know each other and create networks and be able to share ideas and resources, but also build our state parks team, help them understand they're part of our state parks family, and get them familiar with what we have to offer. The other thing that we ask our employees to do during these tours is critique the parks that they're visiting. And we want honest feedback. You know, what are we doing right? What are we really doing wrong? And it's incredible that the information and feedback that we get, especially from people that have never been to a park, because it's just like having a visitor come to the park. And we welcome that feedback just like we do from you, because we want to make sure that we're doing a good job at our state parks. We did that tour in northern Utah last week. We finished one in Megan's neck of the wood and with the Uinta Basin Parks in October. I remember we did southern Utah tours last year, and we're going to continue to offer these. I think they're really valuable for employees. Actually, that is all the days. So that's what I had to share. Questions or
questions?
Just a kudos. I mean, that's a lot of stuff going on, and you guys are doing a fantastic job. So, and it's nice to see you getting around the state, getting to visit all those parks.
It's a really fun opportunity, and I think it's well worth the time. And we're getting a lot of really good feedback from our employees. I just think it's a great opportunity. We recently had an employee survey for the department, and one of the comments that we got back was, you know, we need better training, we need better communication. And I think this and the employee development school and some of these other things that we're doing is going to help be able to reinforce and give our employees the tools and resources that they need to be successful.
And what a better way, I'm sure it just like makes them so excited when you're coming to their park to get to show you everything that's going on, but also like mention, hey, we could use this or that or whatever. It's nice.
That's actually another really cool benefit that's happened from these, because our park managers and their staff are proud of what they do, and they should be.
Yeah.
And they really do like to be able to showcase it. Now, that's something else that I can't remember which of you that I was talking to last night at the dinner table. It really means a lot to our employees when, you know, Scott, Dave, and I, or Megan, Lori, and Wayne, the region managers, go to our state parks and spend time with our park managers and talk to them about how are things going, you know, or are you experiencing any issues? You know, what can I do to help you? And it's the same with you as board members. You may not realize it, but it means a lot when you stop by, and even if it's just a 5-minute conversation. It's just a quick experience on that. I remember Mary Tubius stopped by my park director years ago when I was park manager at Yuba, and just shot the breeze with me for 45 minutes at Yuba. And I just thought it was so cool that, you know, she would take the time to be able to talk to me, and that's how they feel. It means a lot.
It means the world to us.
And also that the mentors have an awesome opportunity for all those employees to get to know the direct clerk too. That's been huge for them to have one-on-one conversations with Jeff, with Scott or Dave. That's been super valuable for them.
Yeah, so we purposely cram them into you know, suburbans, which may or may not be fun depending on where you're sitting, but part of it is that's a great experience to be able to get folks to know each other and have great conversations and have things come up. And, you know, I always come back with a to-do list of, you know, we need to do better on XYZ or this employee has this issue that they're dealing with. So there's value on every side of these. I think it's a great use of time.
Any other questions for Jeff?
Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing, and thanks to Dave for all of his efforts as well with what we're in there. We appreciate that. Next on the agenda, we have some changes to make, rule changes. Will you be doing some as well, Jeff?
Okay, we are exactly on time. So we're gonna start at 11:20. So
Great.
what do you know? Okay, Dave usually does these. I'm gonna try my best to live up to his standards and probably not be able to succeed in that. But here we go. So there's quite a few rules here, but they're actually really easy changes. I thought if you agree, Mr. Chair, that I would just go through them one at a time and we do a motion. Then we don't get them all mixed up. Is that
Perfect. Yes.
sound good? Okay, let's start with the first one. It's rule number 651-407, Off-Highway Vehicle Advisory Council. So this change is really quite simple. This rule doesn't apply to the Division of State Parks. It's a Division of Recreation rule. And so we're striking this from our rules and simply moving, it's going to be moved to the Division of Recreation. That's kind of the background to it. So.
So pretty straightforward. So I'd accept the motion to repeal this rule.
I move to approve the rule repeal for R651-407 on highway vehicle advisory.
Thank you, Joan. Just have a motion from Joan, a second from Brent. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Proceed to the next one, Jim.
Hey, and Shane should be online and corral me in if I stray off course. So, oh yeah, he's raised his hand. I'm counting on you, my friend. Okay, the next one, rule number 651-636, procedures for application to receive funds from the Zion National Park restricted account. Same one here. This rule no longer applies to the Division of State Parks, and we're simply asking for your approval to strike this rule in its entirety, and it will be moved to the Division of Recreation.
Questions on that? Pretty straightforward, so I'll accept the motion here.
I'll make a motion to approve the rule repeal for R651-636, procedures for application to receive funds from Zion National Park restricted accounts.
I've got a motion from Alicia. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Natalie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So good, Jeff.
Okay, this one is rule number R651-103, electronic meetings. This change simply removes recreation from our title, so that we're just state parks, and eliminates the off-highway vehicle council, the reference to the off-highway vehicle council, the reference to the recreational trails advisory council, and the reference to the boating advisory council from this rule in our administrative rules. And again, these councils are report to the Division of Recreation, so we don't need that reference to those councils in this rule.
Okay, so which rule is this exactly what we're looking at?
This is rule number R651-103.
Electronic meetings.
Yes.
Okay. So we're not doing any changes to our format, just dropping some, correcting the name. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this a resolution?
An amendment.
No, that one comes later on the electronic
This is
meetings.
just an
Just
This is just some wording changes within
Okay,
this
gotcha.
rule.
All right. So is there someone who would make that motion for us?
I'll move to approve rule amendment for R651-103 electronic meetings.
Okay, so a motion from Joe, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Lisa, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed?
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on.
Okay, this one is super easy. Rule number R 651-619, possession of alcohol beverages or controlled substances. This request just simply eliminates the words "and recreation" for the same reason with our name change, and adds "state" so that it refers to us as state parks.
Simple cleanup. Appreciate all the cleanup work being done.
And that title is gone now too, the title is cut out.
Oh, thank you, Melanie. So it does change a code reference, and you can see that reflected there in the change of that rule. And thanks for the reminder.
So for someone who would make this motion to make this change for us?
I move to approve rule amendment for, rule 651, 651, 619, possession of alcohol, beverages or controlled substances.
Okay, thank you. Got a motion from Lisa. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Yeah, got a second from Brent. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to rule number R 651-629, personal property. This rule change takes out the words "and recreation." Again, just like the previous one, adds "state" to our title, so it's state parks, and changes a code reference number from 24 to 24A. Wait a minute, no, it just removes the code reference.
All right, is there a motion to make this change?
I'll make a motion to approve rule number R 651-629, personal property.
All right, thank you. Got a motion from Brent. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Alicia. All those in support of this, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, next one, rule number R 651-632, enforcement. This one, again, eliminates the words "and recreation" from our title, adds the word "state," and changes code number references to reference the correct codes. The codes that we're eliminating are no longer there or no longer.
So someone would make a motion in support of this change as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve rule amendment for R 651-632 for enforcement.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is that Joan? And second from Joan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, last one for me, rule number R 651-601, definitions as used in these rules. So this one's a little more complicated, but still pretty straightforward. In the past, this definition for ranger only included our law enforcement rangers. Fact is that we have law enforcement park rangers and non-law enforcement park rangers. So we clarified that in these in the definition of ranger. We also updated the code references so that they're accurate. Well, that's the gist of this change.
Okay. Thank you. Accept the motion to, this is explained by Jeff.
Make a motion to approve the rule amendment for 651 definition.
All right, I've got a motion from Claudia. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Natalie. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
So that should be all the rules that I have, and I believe Shane's going to be taking this next one. I didn't hear anything, or see anything from Shane, so I think you got through all those appropriately.
Very good. Shane, can you check this next one for us?
I will. Thank you. And Jeff, I was listening carefully and your presentation was perfection. So,
Guy.
So it's kind of unusual, I'm sure, for you to see changes to the electronic meeting rule and then a resolution regarding electronic meetings. So let me explain why this is necessary. The changes to the Open and Public Meetings Act in 2022 requires the board to pass either a rule or resolution that clarifies some of its electronic meeting procedures. Now, we could do that through rule changes, and in fact, you'll see there's a lot of crossover between the rule that you just approved and this resolution, but it's actually easier for the board to pass a resolution than it is a rule, because if you need to change that in the future, you can do that during a meeting. It doesn't have to go through the processes that a rule would have to go through. And because a resolution is anticipated under the changes to the Open Public Meetings Act, I think it's probably better that we do it this way. So let me just explain to you what this resolution does. As I noted, there's a lot of similarity between this resolution and the existing electronic meetings rule. But this does a couple additional things. It adds a few requirements to the notice requirements of the act, including that the notice be posted physically at the anchor location, and it gives instructions as to how folks might join a meeting or participating in a meeting at the anchor location. It also provides explicitly that folks who attend electronically are counted as present for purposes of a quorum. And it provides that the chair can hold a meeting entirely electronically if the chair determines that health or safety requires that, or if the anchor location is closed because of a public health or safety emergency. This is something that came about during COVID and probably precipitated some of the changes we saw in early 22. And then it provides for how the chair should notify members of the public and members of the board as to how the public meetings should be held. I'm sorry, the electronic meeting should be held. And finally, this is probably the biggest change for the way the board conducts its meetings. It requires that if a meeting is being held electronically, and by that I mean one or more board members are participating remotely, that all except unanimous votes must be taken by roll call. So what would that mean? It would basically mean that if you have a motion to approve a resolution for this, for example, this, or a rule change or a motion on any other matter, and everybody votes in favor except for one person, and somebody is online, the chair needs to go through and take each vote by roll call. So he'd say, you know, as to person A, what's your vote? Person B, what's your vote? Person C, what's your vote? And then at the end say, there are 10 votes in favor, 1 vote against, motion passes. If the motion is unanimous, that's not necessary. But if it's not, then you need to make sure you go through that process. That's just so that there's a record of who voted for what, because that can get kind of confused during the electronic meeting process. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to see much change between how you're doing your meetings now versus how you'll do them in the future. One thing I would like to note about the anchor location. The anchor location can change. So you'll notice that the resolution anticipates the anchor location will be in the DNR building. It can change to Moab, for example, so long as that's identified in the public notice and then a copy is posted at the physical location where the meeting takes place. So you're not bound to have your meetings at DNR. That's just where you would most likely have them. And that's why that address is reflected in the resolution. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about it. I know it's a lengthy document, but all in all, it really doesn't represent much of a change from what you're doing now.
Thank you, Shane. Any questions to Shane regarding how this works? Okay. I think everybody's probably seen this as it's grown and developed and implemented in its fashion. This is a resolution. Does this require, Shane, or require a roll call? Or is this just a vote?
You can just take a vote unless the vote is not unanimous, then you would need to take via roll call.
Okay,
So what I would suggest is somebody move to approve the resolution second. If everyone votes in favor, that's sufficient.
all right, so I'll accept the motion to approve the resolution regarding electronic meetings. Someone who will do that for us?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution regarding electronic meetings.
All right, got a motion from Natalie. Is there a second? A second from Claudia. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. And thank you, Shane. Appreciate all your help and support. And thanks to others. Appreciate all the help here, Melanie, and with arrangements and hotel and food and everything.
It was Megan.
And Devin, thank you for all you do. You make us look good. Jeff's smart to surround himself with good people.
That's the only way to do it.
Yes. I was just gonna also mention, last week I was at a conference and one of our speakers we had, his name was Molly Junior Bonner. And he was the director, producer for that film, his name is Green Lake. And so that was,
That guy is amazing.
Yeah.
he was a great speaker.
I want to get him as a speaker in our training, our EDS training.
It's really inspirational.
Sorry to interrupt you,
No.
but he is an exceptional speaker. Just talk about someone with energy and
The
enthusiasm.
dream and just following and just, yeah, anyway, a great speaker, but, very inspirational. And, so it was this movie and all his efforts were behind getting those statues placed at, this is the place, Heritage Park. And so it's a Green Flake is there. And then there's a woman and some children and also some other Black pioneers that were instrumental in our area. And, anyway, so watch for
What was his name again?
Molly, Mauli Junior Bonner.
Okay.
And,
I think that was the most well-attended ribbon cutting for anything at this place. I was able to attend this summer and we filled that entire courtyard below there. Were you there? It was incredible. And then the Bonners sang and it was a really cool event.
So is he a Utah native? We want him at tourism conference, so make a note.
so his family in Utah, he's actually out of Southern California. He's
Okay.
really nice.
Cool.
You won't be disappointed.
He's good.
Yeah.
Lots of the families here.
He's incredible.
Okay.
So please keep us posted on these ribbon cuttings. Old Irontown, San Paulo, some other things in the works. We'll look forward to that. I guess we need to look forward to look at our next meetings. We don't have anything scheduled at this point for 2023, do we?
I think you're scheduled for a start of Snap.
Can we get this some dates?
Next one. Probably February.
But
So February we normally do at the state office because that's during the session, right?
I'm not available the week of the 20th, but otherwise the whole week.
February, we have Tourism Day on the Hill, February 10th. Let's put that on as a save the date.
What about the 9th? Is that a good day, bad day?
Might be
For me,
nice
it's
for those
gonna be
that have to travel that are gonna do tours later.
Items that day.
And you said the week of the 20th is bad. Is that what
For
you
me,
said?
that was bad.
Okay.
when does the session end?
March
Not
3rd.
not March 3rd. Okay. So we could do like the 16th?
Of February.
I don't know.
Just throw it out there. Meetings at that, no. Week after that.
How's that look for everyone, February 16th?
You said February.
Yes. Uh-oh, Natalie's coming back.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Okay, so February 16th. Our hours, okay?
So we tend to look at the second week of the second month of the quarter. Is that kind of been on history?
I think so.
So it'll be 9:30.
I'll send out a calendar invite once I get next week.
So then we'd be looking at the May, the week of May is at 8th. Is that a starting point?
May 10th and 11th.
What's that look like for people, May 10th and 11th?
May 10th is bad for me.
What about the 11th, 12th? It's still bad.
No, that's great for me. It's just golden spike the 11th, just the 11th.
May 11th, 12th, you guys think about it?
Board meeting on the 12th.
We'll be jumping to the following week, 17th, 18th.
Or is that, are we doing Thursday, Friday or Wednesday, Thursday?
We can do whatever, what's good. What?
What was the location of this meeting?
Yeah,
It would
who's
be out
hosting
of
in
Salt
May?
Lake, right?
No,
Yeah,
Salt
so
Lake.
February would be Salt Lake, and then May.
I think, I'm pretty sure they have interim in May, and the 17th would be usually natural resources. You just never know what's going to come up, but I could still cover that, you know, either cover it or have someone else cover it.
That'd be the 17th, so
Yeah.
what about the 18th, 19th? Is that better?
We're honestly gonna fall into that
Regardless.
month.
Well, you could just do a, what,
I don't think we need
10th
to
and
change
11th, like, instead of 11th and 12th. I mean, or it could be 11th and 12th, just depending on where it's at. Well, you're gone, is that what you said?
No, it's just golden spike is on the May 10th. So.
Is that like an anniversary?
Oh, it's like holy day in Bucksburg.
That's where Joe.
You should just
Let's do the meeting
post
in Box Elder.
on the 11th and then let us come up to there. on the
That's what you need, and they're gonna put on your plate.
Everyone close to golden spike.
What about the 24th, 25th? May?
For me.
Is that better?
Are there locations?
Did you decide locations today on these or just,
We can tie down locations.
It's helpful.
May might be a good day, to get to do something in Southern Utah where it's not so hot.
Come down our way.
Southwest.
Okay.
So 24 and 25?
Yep.
Are you taking that one up?
Yep, we'll do that
You
one.
and Wayne?
Yeah, Wayne and I'll take care of it. We good, Wayne?
Wayne?
Yep, we're good. I'm here. I'm listening.
So that, the 24th, 25th?
Yeah. And that puts us midsummer, like July. You don't want to visit us.
August usually.
Yes. August 9th, 10th.
Yeah, I think so.
So she
The
just
ninth
putting
and tenth?
like
I know this is,
locations.
I don't have that on that.
We don't have locations yet for the board meeting. UOT, but it's gonna be the. Yeah, it'll be Salt Lake, it's the. So the night of it. Who's the host?
I mean, I'll always
I'd
go,
like to sometime go to,
but I just.
Kodachrome or it's kind of some of those Escalades, some of those
Yeah,
things that
that would be
seldom.
cool.
What's the one that's on the boulder? When you go over the Yeah, I haven't, I drove by, but I didn't stop.
When I could talk.
We could talk to Lance about reviews.
Well, that could be the main one too.
Yeah.
You know, this year too is the centennial for Bryce Canyon. As well. That's interesting. That's in June, but.
Is there, Wayne, is there a facility in Escalante?
I could line something up.
We could also work with the tourism department there too, Wade, if that's helpful.
There's that multi-agency building. I wonder if they have a,
Right.
I'm not familiar what's inside of there, but.
Yeah.
I was.
There's a room,
I would bet there'd be a room there.
We should have an example out the prospector and the Escalade.
yeah, I think we could work with that.
Yeah, well, that's right. They got Ruby.
Yeah, it's not very far away. When in August are we thinking?
It's August 9th, 10th.
Always at the time to go there.
Yep.
Then we go to this time of year, next year, November.
A year ago.
Can't do the 8th.
That's how fast it's gonna go.
Convention. Sure.
I bet that UF will be the 15th and 16th.
I bet it will too.
So we can either go like the 13th and 14th before that, or
The week before, the first week.
yeah, the first week, like the first and second or something.
We're next November, right?
November 1st and 2nd. We'll start earlier, so later.
What location are you thinking?
Do you want to host to go north?
We can host
North?
somewhere. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you were gonna tour the northern parts, November's probably not the ideal time to go to Bear Lake.
Yeah. What about we flip it? So, oh no, August. Is that a bad time for you? Because if we did the August one in Box Elder and then
Yeah.
November we do the.
We do go for we do.
But is Escalade and stuff that still on in November? Yes.
Like
We
this
did
region.
snow yesterday, so it's all good.
Similar to here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's higher.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What's mid?
May.
Southwest.
Oh, okay, so southwest.
Spring down there. So we're thinking August, we'll do Box Elder, somewhere over that way. And then try to do Escalante, something in November.
So was that the first and the second?
Yes. All right. Annually, we have to do our board member training. Is that something that we would touch on at our meeting in February, Shane? Is that something you would take care of?
Good between Shane and.
I'm sorry, was that question for me?
Yeah, sorry. So annually, we have to have our board member training certification, right?
That's right. We could take care of that at the February meeting.
Yeah. Could you put that on the agenda, Melanie, and help us with that, Shane, whatever? approach we can take
Absolutely.
care of that? Thank you. That was a highlight of the year, right?
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. We're all on board. Anything else from our board? Appreciate all that you do and all your support. Jeff, thank you, and our regional directors, and Scott, and Dave's with us, and all our staff. I appreciate all you do. But accept the motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
Before you do, I don't think I expressed my appreciation for all of you, but I love having you all on board. You all do an exceptional job on representing, recreational interests throughout. You can tell I just appreciate your service on this board. So, and please don't hesitate. It's always fun to share good news, but if you hear something bad or you notice something that needs to improve, don't be shy. I want to hear about that as well. So, just thank you for all you guys do. Appreciate it.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor, just say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Adjourned.